Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Brickman, and this afternoon, almost evening, we got Jason Neufeld, and this is his law firm, Elder Needs Law. Nice to have you, Jason.
Jonathan, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to have some fun here. So I know it's late in the day, but just to keep with the theme, Latte with a Lawyer, how do you get the day started? What's your beverage of choice?
It's almost always water with lemon, and then I add in, I've started adding apple cider vinegar, and I don't know, I listen to these health podcasts and they say that's what you're supposed to do. So I'm giving it a go and I like it. It's working well. And then about 90 minutes after I wake up, because they also, I'm a sucker for these health podcasts, is when I have my first cup of coffee.
All right, good.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I learn a lot by asking that question because it's all over the board the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're concerned about your health, which is a good thing.
Yes.
We want to maximize the viability of our vessels here, right?
I'm looking to feel good throughout the day. And so whatever I can do to, that's natural and not, something that I'm going to get addicted to, that's what I'm looking to do.
Got it. And great segue, because I know your area of law is elder law, so you're trying to keep everybody else healthy too.
That's right.
So tell us about your practice.
Yeah, thanks. So Elder Needs Law is an elder law firm, and I often get the question, well, that's nice, but what's elder law? Because even when I'm in a group of lawyers, they're not always sure what that means. Elder law really is an umbrella term for multiple areas of law. There are some areas of law that people have undoubtedly heard of, like estate planning, right? Your wills, your trusts, how do we get assets to your heirs in the most efficient way possible? Probate, right? If you don't plan properly, you have to go to court. And so we can also help people navigate that court process. And then it's what I do that's a little bit different that a lot of people don't know much about is what's called Medicaid planning. And the idea behind Medicaid planning is as we get older, it becomes more likely that we'll need long-term care, whether it's care at home or care in a facility.
Yep.
And these things are very, very expensive. And the question is, who's going to pay for that? And there aren't a lot of good options. Medicare is not one of them, right? People think I have a really good Medicare supplement and this is going to, cover all my needs. And the harsh reality is that's not true. So then you're either privately paying or you're applying for some kind of government benefit. And so we help protect people's assets so they can qualify for these government benefits.
I see. Interesting. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's on your own. So is that different than long-term care, or is it?
So long-term care is a wonderful way to pay for these things. So I tell people all the time, especially, most of my clients are going to be in their, late 70s, 80s, or 90s. And what I'm often doing is I'm looking at their adult children and I'm saying, hey, Medicaid is great. Medicaid pays for a lot of things, but I don't know what Medicaid's going to be like in 20 years from now or 30 years from now. If you can privately pay for long-term care insurance, that is the best because that's just cash. That's just money, and that's just essentially money in the bank. So yeah, if you can privately afford to pay for long-term care insurance, that is wonderful. But people find that to be very expensive because it is very expensive. And when you need it, right, if you're looking to apply for it when you need it, you won't qualify for it, right, because you won't pass underwriting. So long-term care insurance is like government funded long-term care insurance, essentially.
I see. Okay. Interesting. Okay, good. And so, we were chatting a little bit before we got on here, but I mean, you didn't start in this, so take me along that path. Like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I started out as a personal injury attorney, plaintiff's personal injury attorney, representing people in car accidents and slip and falls and some complex medical malpractice and products liability cases. And I started representing I found myself, for whatever reason in my firm, representing more of our elderly clients. I just found myself being really interested in how there's some differences when you're working with the elderly, if they have Medicare and how you handle that. And it was through personal injury, actually, that I got interested in Medicaid planning. And I found myself gravitating more towards the Medicaid, more towards the planning side, away from the litigation side. And finally, essentially, my partners and I agreed that if I'm going to continue building this elder law Medicaid planning practice, I ought to do it under a separate banner. And so, thus, Elder Needs Law was born.
Got it. And what was it about that attracted you? You wanted to make that switch?
It was, remember I told you that many lawyers don't know that Medicaid planning even exists. And
Yeah.
I was one of those lawyers. So in a personal injury context, if I represent someone who is on Medicaid, what I knew to be true was you had to refer them to an elder law attorney, because if you get this big settlement in or a big, huge verdict, you'll jeopardize their government benefits. But what I didn't know, what the kind of the big secret was it could work in reverse, right? You could work with someone who is worth a 200, 300, $500,000 or even more. And you could start off with someone who doesn't qualify for Medicaid, and there are legal and ethical ways of protecting their assets to get them qualified for Medicaid. And when I learned that, I just thought that was the coolest thing. And there are not a lot of attorneys doing it. And I just kind of started going to the conferences and reading the books. And here we are. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, because I thought Medicaid was for I don't know what the right term is, but lower income, let's say.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Indigent. That's exactly right. So the answer is that is 100% true. It's for people who have less than a certain amount of money. Usually it's $2,000, and they earn less than a certain amount of income. That number changes every year. This year, for the long-term care Medicaid programs, that number is $2,742, meaning if you receive more than that from Social Security, from your pension, from however else you receive money, you don't qualify for Medicaid.
Well, that's almost everybody.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So people go, Jason, I'm not Rockefeller, but I have more than $2,000 in my bank account. So what are we even talking about here?
Sure.
And that's what gets me so excited, because, what I tell people is, if you are indigent, you may naturally qualify for these programs. If you're wealthy, you can afford to privately pay for your long-term care. And it's everyone in the middle who's getting the short end of the stick, right? It's the working class, the middle class, even some upper middle class folks who too often are spending every red cent before they qualify for Medicaid, and they don't have to. They can come to an attorney like me, again, legally and ethically, using the law to their favor to protect what they have and still get them access to Medicaid.
Interesting. Well, we're not going to make this discussion all about Medicaid, but I'm curious to know how you sort of navigate all that. That's you probably made a lot of friends, I'm sure.
Yes, I become a resource for a lot of different people, a lot of financial advisors, a lot of other attorneys who don't know how this works. You know what I tell people? It's like, if you had $20 million, you would be going to a tax attorney and say, hey, how can I legally and ethically pay as little taxes as possible, right? And I'm doing the same thing. I'm just doing it for, typically middle-class folks, right? And saying, here, we have this amount of money. What rules can I follow to protect what I have and still get access to these, really valuable government benefits?
Right. Naturally. Yeah. No, I can see why you're a popular guy. So good for you. And there aren't many attorneys that are in this niche.
Correct. I mean, there are a lot of people, it's funny. I don't know, I should say this out loud, but there are a lot of people who call themselves elder law attorneys, and they refer the business to my firm, and we kind of just do it on the back end. So there are people who say they do it, but very few of us really focus on it, keep up with the law. If I to brag for a second, I am on the board of directors of the Academy of Florida Elder Law Attorneys, meaning I go to these conferences and I learn at these conferences, but I also teach other attorneys too. So I'm an
Okay.
instructor and a student when I go to these conferences. I've written a book about this stuff. So, I'm very proud of the fact that we are at the forefront of Medicaid planning. And by the way, we do plenty of estate planning as well. We work with people who of all ages who just want to, they want to make sure they can avoid probate and have a good power of attorney and empower the right people to make decisions for them if they become unable to do so. So it's really planning through all aspects of people's lives.
Excellent. Very good. So, where are you from? Are you from South Florida? Is that where you grew
Yeah,
up?
born and raised in North Miami Beach, and just went away to Atlanta for college and came right back down to Miami for a law school and business school. So
Where'd you go to Emory? Did you go
I
to
went to
Emory?
Emory. Yeah, I went
Yeah,
to Emory undergrad. Yeah, and
that's
then
right.
came back down. Went to University of Miami for law school.
University of Miami. Okay, very
Mhm.
good.
Yep.
But your parents must have come here through New York.
You got it. They came through New York. My father is an attorney as well, who went to University of Miami, and my mother went to University of Miami as an undergraduate student, and that's where they met. So they're two New Yorkers, came down to Miami, met at school, and said, "Why are we going back to the cold? Let's just stay down here."
Exactly. I can still hear the New York accent
I
coming
get
through.
that all the time. I get that all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, as you know, I mean, South Florida. I'm from Boston. I mean, there's nothing southern about South Florida,
That's right. That's
right?
right. You got to go north to head south.
Yeah. It makes me laugh, but it is very true.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact, I was on the phone with an attorney a couple of weeks ago who, with like a real Southern accent. I said, "Man, you really are from the South." And up in north of Orlando, it's like he said, "Yeah, it was the South at one point." He said, "I come down where you are. It's like it's a totally different world."
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
anyway,
Mhm.
um, so your dad's an attorney. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
When did you was that your influence to become an attorney?
For sure. It's almost like I've always admired my father. He's just always been honorable, intelligent, and just, he's always led me down the right path. He's always been my mentor. He still is my mentor, and I'm blessed that we got to work together for so long, and we still work together in some capacities. So it's really, really nice. And it's kind of like growing up. I didn't know what else to do. Like I wasn't going to be an accountant. I wasn't good at organic chemistry, so a doctor was out of the question. So I was on the debate team in high school. So law kind of always seemed to be my path. I never really thought about doing much of anything else.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
It's a noble profession, so good for you.
Thank you.
Any of the siblings or anyone else in the family attorneys besides your dad?
Uh, yeah, we have lots of attorneys. I have a brother and a sister. My brother is not an attorney, but my sister is.
Okay.
My wife is an attorney. Her
Okay.
father's an attorney. My sister-in-law is an attorney. My uncles are attorneys. I mean, we've got attorney. We are very well protected legally.
Okay. And all different types of law, or like
Yeah, tax law, real estate law, transactional law, banking law, personal injury law, land use law. We really run the gambit.
oh, that's great. That's
Yeah,
terrific.
yeah, it's interesting.
Excellent. So give me just for the audience, like give me an example of like a really interesting case that you've worked on, one that you can talk about anyway.
Yeah, sure. So I've got what I call my sad story, which is, with Medicaid planning specifically, as a subset of elder needs law, there is a lot of misinformation. That's why I'm regularly adding content to my YouTube channel. I write a lot of articles. That's why I wrote the book. It really is to try to set the record straight and clear up a lot of misinformation out there. So I say that as a preface because this I was contacted by a woman named Helen, and I of course won't give her last name.
Sure.
And I was really actually contacted by Helen's sister, who was her power of attorney. And Helen was in her 70s, and her sister was basically saying to me, almost crying, "We are calling you out of desperation. I've sold Helen's house. We are down to her last $6,000 or $7,000, and that money's going quick because Helen needs to be in a facility, and we don't have enough money to cover the cost of the facility." And I was that really saddened me. I said, why'd you sell the house? And she goes, well, we needed the money to pay for the care. I said, but why, have you heard of Medicaid? She goes, yeah, that's why I'm calling you, but I didn't, the house is worth, a couple $100,000, and we didn't have 5 years to wait in order to do any of this stuff. So I figured I had to get that done now. I said, none of that is accurate. Meaning, yes, you can only have a limited amount of assets, but not all assets are countable, meaning Medicaid doesn't consider everything when determining whether or not you're eligible. And one thing they specifically exclude is your homestead, your primary residence. So you didn't have to sell your house. I said, in the 5-year rule, as anyone who has kind of heard maybe a rumor about Medicaid planning and qualifying for Medicaid knows that for some reason 5 years is important, but they don't always understand why. So the erroneous assumption often is that you cannot move money around within 5 years or you won't be eligible for Medicaid. The real rule is you cannot give money away within 5 years of applying for Medicaid. So people come to me and they don't have 5 years to wait. They need Medicaid like right now or in the very near future. And so everything that I do is designed to avoid triggering that 5-year look back period, meaning we're never just giving money away. You're not allowed to do that. That for sure is true. You're not allowed to give money away within 5 years of applying, but there's still ways of moving the money around in a way that is not considered to be a gift. And because it's not a gift, you can do it and it's okay with Medicaid. And I also like to tell people, I don't hide anything from the government, right? I have this bar card that I want to keep. I enjoy practicing law. I'm not interested in, committing fraud or anything like that. So I tell people, here's my client who started off with owning their home and a couple $100,000 in the bank, typically. Here's what we did with the money and why still under state and federal law, none of what we did is a gift, and you still have to give my client access to these benefits. So when Helen's sister was telling me that, they didn't want to do anything within 5 years and they had to sell the house to privately pay for care, I was, just so sad, because I said, you didn't have to do any of that. You could have come to me much, much sooner. We could have saved the house. And, she, of course, didn't like hearing that. And I said, listen, I take a certain number of cases pro bono on every year. So I did do that one for pro bono, which I felt so bad for Helen. We helped her, protect the $7,000 or so that she had in her name and get her onto Medicaid. And that was, my sad story.
Okay.
So we hear that a lot. Not a lot, but it's too often. People don't, they Google around or they talk to their neighbor, and there's a lot of bad information out there when it comes to Medicaid and Medicaid planning and kind of how the program works. So.
Well, listen, you're a valuable resource. I mean, the key is you got to catch people before it's too late, I suppose, right?
Yeah, that's why I do things like this. I'm always looking to do podcasts and YouTube videos, and I'm a guest speaker at caregiver support groups and things like that, because I want people to know that there are ways to get help paying for what you need, getting help paid for, and that's the education that I'm trying to bring to the state of Florida.
Got it. And I would imagine the state of Florida, just because of the population, you probably see more of this than other places.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only licensed in Florida, so I only help people who need help in Florida, but we really do cover the full state. We actually just opened, I'm personally located in South Florida, but I have another attorney who works for me who's located in Pensacola. So we opened up a Pensacola office, but through the magic of Zoom and email, I mean, we truly do have a very robust statewide practice where we represent people throughout the entire state.
Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess I would ask you, so for this type of law, what do you think the skill set is versus like personal injury or being a litigator? Like what do you need to be good at?
Being a litigator, of course, is more fighting to the death, right? doing Medicaid planning and estate planning is being someone who enjoys a good puzzle. Because there's no one size fits all solution. And so when we have our consultations with our clients, we have a pretty detailed intake form because Medicaid doesn't treat all assets alike. We need to know how things are positioned, and then we can think intelligently about what we're going to suggest to protect those assets. And everything I do, I always say, has pros and cons. I do not, again, there's not like one special needs trust that we can put all the money into and that would be the end of it. Or I should say, if there are attorneys who do that, and I call that lazy Medicaid planning. But with estate planning and Medicaid planning, it's really about getting the client's feedback and adjusting strategies accordingly, because we can do a lot to maximize benefits and minimize any drawbacks that go along with these strategies based on the client's feedback. So I always liken it to a really good puzzle when we develop a unique tailored solution for our clients.
Okay, excellent, very good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, good. Listen, you certainly enlightened me a little bit about this. A lot of nuance to it, I'm sure.
For sure.
Yeah, excellent, good. So just final thoughts you want to leave with the audience about the firm and best way to connect to you.
Yeah, so we have the if they're listening, the phone number that some people are seeing on the screen is 786-756-8169. That is to our central scheduling line. That's no matter where you are located in Florida. If you go to our website, elderneedslaw.com, you can fill out a contact us form and we'll reach out to you. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@elderneedslaw, where we post all of our videos. If you're interested in learning more but don't want to talk to me, I have a book. It's on Amazon.com. If you just search for, Jason Neufeld Medicaid Planning, it'll pop up. It's actually called How to Get Medicaid to Pay for Some or All of Your Long-Term Care Expenses. And that's just however you want to connect with me. We're happy. I'm answering questions all the time online, especially on the YouTube channel. So Facebook and all that stuff. So however you want to reach out to our firm, we're happy to connect with you.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're leveraging technology. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Good. Well, listen, this is sponsored by EmotionTrac, which is a legal tech platform I mentioned, and we help litigators primarily prepare for trials and mediation through our digital insights platform. So everybody, Jason Neufeld, Elder Needs Law, and thank you. Appreciate the time this afternoon.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You bet.